Hello, everybody. So, welcome, good morning, good afternoon, depending where you're dialing in from. So, firstly, thank you very much for joining today's webinar, where we're going to be taking you on a live tour of the Cobe platform. So, just for sort of housekeeping reasons, letting you know that the session is being recorded, and we'll send out a link to the recording and placing it on our website just after the session. So, if anyone wasn't able to attend it, feel free to forward it on. So my name is Ian Lambert. I'm the CEO of Cobe. I'm joined by our CTO, Alan Simpson.
Hello.
And our lead platform architect, Matt Porter.
Hi.
Great. So it's going to be a quick session today. You know, we think probably 20, 30 minutes. Really does depend upon the number of questions that we receive. So please do use the chat box on the GoToMeeting chat window to sort of post any questions that you may have, and then we'll cover those off in the Q&A session at the end. So in terms of format, it's very, very light on slides, you'll be pleased to know. Firstly, we're going to be providing you with a very brief introduction to Cobe. Some of you may not have come across us before, we're a pretty new business. And secondly, to really give you an overview of the problems that we address here, the all-important why question. Why should I care? Why is it important? Why is it needed? And we're then going to run through a live demo of the platform and show you a typical use case which would be aimed at sort of DevOps. We're going to then finish off the session today with a Q&A with Alan here. Alan has got a ton of experience in helping organizations to containerize legacy and monolithic applications, very often as part of digital transformation initiatives. So I'm sure he'll be able to provide some great insights to those challenges. So please feel free to speak up or post your questions. So moving on to a very, very quick overview of who is Cobe. So Cobe is an early stage software company. We're based in the UK, and we've recently launched our flagship product that delivers service-centric intelligence to businesses. Okay, so we'll talk about what that is in a bit more detail shortly. And we've got a great team here at the Cobe. We've been using microservices and Kubernetes for years, so we can also offer advisory services around digital transformation. Moving on to the next slide. Let me know if they're not moving forward, but hopefully you now see a slide saying Cobe value proposition. So service-centric intelligence is a phrase that we've coined because this is all about organizations. We think this is now required. If you are going to adopt microservices, this is something that's required because part of your digital transformation initiative, you might have decided to either adopt a new architectural style, or maybe you're taking some of your legacy applications and transitioning them to run in microservices environments. Now, whilst there might be very many benefits of switching across to microservices, at the same time, it does add a ton of complexity and interdependencies into how your business services are constructed. Okay, so what's required is you have to group together and understand all those interdependencies, show how all the pods, containers, resources collectively represent your business service. So that's really what service-centric intelligence is all about. So the second point about identifying anomalies, this is one of the key features. Very often there might be things, the service might be available, but there's things that aren't quite right, within the environment. Okay, so Cobe, we're going to show you in the demonstration a specific example of that in a few minutes' time. But really, it's about helping you to, once it's been identified that there is an anomaly, we can help you to drill down, understand what the impact is of that unusual behavior, and help you to understand what's going on by visualizing the topology, the interdependencies, and ultimately give you the required information you need to troubleshoot and restore service faster. And the final point, Cobe today is really aimed at DevOps users, specifically those organizations that are running containers within a Kubernetes cluster. The platform provides contextual insights that are not available with traditional tools. So we believe that the introduction of microservices has changed the way in which organizations need to manage their infrastructure. It doesn't necessarily matter that hosts are falling over or that pods or containers are restarting, etc. Because Kubernetes is great. It's got some wonderful self-healing capabilities, and they, quite often those sort of faults or issues could get masked. They could be hidden. So Cobe provides the contextual insights you require to understand the business impact of what's happening within your environment, because ultimately that's what's important. The business service is what's important. So it might be available, okay, but there could be an underlying problem that needs solving. So the Cobe platform has been designed to understand what's going on very much at a service level rather than at an infrastructure level. So moving on to the why question. Why should I care? Why is it important? Why is it needed? So here's just some of the challenges that we think organizations face these days. Sure, you all know what microservices are. You understand they can come and go within seconds, which makes them very difficult to track in real time. So most organizations have a lack of visibility into these increasingly dynamic and complex infrastructures. So DevOps in particular are unable to understand the impact of events just using traditional monitoring systems because they lack the context of how they relate to the business. The current tools typically have no understanding of the dependencies and relationships between service and pod resources. So moving on to use case scenarios. So Alan, why don't you take us through the typical DevOps use cases listed here?
Okay, so our view is that Cobe helps in a number of use case scenarios, but here we're concentrating on a sort of a DevOps use case. So we believe that Cobe can help both existing users of microservices and those who are transitioning their legacy monolithic applications to a containerized environment. We believe that this is going to help customers to understand the interdependencies between the business services and the underlying infrastructure, the containers, the hosts, the pods that are there to support that business service. So in addition to that, the business service-centric intelligence, we believe helps customers to understand the impact of a failure of specific components and to provide sort of a greater level of insight than existing monitoring and alerting tools provide at the moment. They tend to provide too much detail in a containerized environment, and quite often you get the sort of needle in a haystack problem. Mm-hmm. Finally, we hope that Cobe will sort of accelerate the move towards containers to provide the contextual insights that you were just talking about, to ensure that the application dependencies are known, sort of understood in an operational sense and accounted for. Okay,
so these are typically use cases very much focused on DevOps, and the demo which we're going to look at now is also sort of very DevOps centric. But you used to run an MSP. I think MSPs could also benefit from Cobe if they were to be able to, if you're running containers as a service, that would be a great example, I think. Is that something that you could see how would be of value to some of your older customers?
Sure, indeed. The level of complexity that the individual organizations who are running containers is high. They are complex environments, complex and changing environments. Obviously, in an MSP scenario, that's multiplied by n number of customers, sort of each one laying more, increasing the complexity according to their own particular customers' business needs.
Okay. I think the final area, which we touched on briefly, was around consultancies. I think as consultancies are using helping organizations to update or move towards microservices, either update existing applications or develop new applications. Again, we think Cobe can be a very useful tool to help with those sorts of projects. So, quick slide before we think about the demonstration. So this is, I think, a summary, really, isn't it, of what we're going to be seeing. Do you want to take us through this?
Right, indeed. So as we said, this is a DevOps sort of centric presentation, and here we're going to start off by seeing a service-centric view of a business service. So That's what, rather than a component view, what the business service looks like. Then we're going to go through and look at some anomaly detection capabilities within Cobe. We'll go over the ability to be able to visualize dependencies within those business services. Next, we'll go through to impact analysis to understand just exactly what it is that a particular failure, or how a particular failure would impact a business service. And then we'll briefly touch on the search technology that we've got built into the platform.
Excellent, good stuff. Right, in that case, we should move over to the demo. Let me just pass presentation rights over to Matt here. Okay. Hopefully the screen is refreshing for everybody, and momentarily, through the power of Citrix, we will see. Oh, yeah, here it is. Come out now. There it is. Good.
Okay, thank you, Ian. So what we're going to see in this demo is an application that we've already modeled within Cobe. This demo is all live and it's available via our website at Cobe.io/demo. So here you can see we're running a 3-tier app. And even though this is running in many containers across different nodes, here you can see a simple view of the environment. This environment contains a WordPress application, which has the database, web proxy layer, and an application layer. And this is all deployed as microservices on Kubernetes. You may instead imagine this is instead an e-commerce, financial services, or other typical 3-tier application. Finally, on this screen, you can see that our anomaly detection feature has identified that something isn't right. In this case, the anomaly we can see is that a container keeps restarting. With Cobe, you can easily observe the anomaly, the relationships and components, all of the services which are potentially impacted. We can take a closer look at this particular anomaly, and we can see that this event is not only related to the web app, but it's related to the affected pod and the containers within it. In the detailed panel below, we can see more information about the anomaly, including its type, the number of times it's occurred, and when it was first seen. In the anomaly relations, we see any dead containers which have since been restarted in this pod. If we click on a dead container, we can see in the detail panel that we're no longer receiving metrics for that container. Drilling down into the container means we can see the process tree, processes that were running within that container. We don't just drill down, but we can go upwards to higher level resources. If I go back to the anomaly, we can see the pod that contains that container. From the pod, you can see services which were targeting that pod, as well as the node that it was running on, and any other containers which are now running inside the pod. So we now know that the issue is related to the WordPress app, our web service, but also to this container and pod, which are the low-level resources which make up that service. Here, you can see the node which the faulty container was running on, and we can dig in further to understand the impact of the anomaly. We can see the metrics for the node, CPU usage and memory usage on that node, so we can understand if there may be resource limitations causing issues to that container. By going back to the pod, we can also see the replica set. So on the replica set, we can see that it's running 5 replicas. Each of these pods is running the same image, and we can see that they're running without any anomalies. So we can be confident the code isn't causing the issue. None of the other replicas are restarting. So in this instance, the impact of this anomaly is probably low. You haven't lost all your availability because you've got multiple replicas set up. So your service is still running, but at a reduced level, which could lead to a poor user experience. But since we have the full context available, we know the potential extent for larger impact. If you were trying to do this via the Kubernetes command line, you'd have to look at each of these components in isolation. Cobe shows you the relevant resources in your system, along with their dependencies, so you can see the impact of the problem. However, if you do need to see anything specific, you can use the search entry point, which allows us to see, for example, the Cobe agent running within this cluster. You can add that in and see where that's running as well. That's the end of the demo.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Matt. Quick and well executed. Right. I was having a quick look at the chat window. We haven't got any specific questions coming in yet, but I had a feeling that might be the case. Might be a few shy people out there. One thing I thought would be useful was just 2 or 3, a few points that we often get asked. When we're out in the field talking to customers, there's a few standard questions we get asked. So I'm going to be the question master to Alan today. So Alan, can you give us a quick overview, explain the architecture of Cobe? How does it work? Is it a hosted platform? What are the components, etc.?
Sure. So at a high level, the Cobe system is made up of 4 major components. There's a containerized agent application which runs on each node in a customer's Kubernetes cluster. And this is used to collect runtime metrics and service information. This information is then sent to a second component, which is our Cobe model. And this part of the system collects the runtime metrics and the service information. And it does that in order to deduce the service architecture and to collate the runtime metrics and associate them with the correct business services. The third component is an integration API, which allows model from that data to be plumbed into existing management systems, and we can go into that a little later on. The fourth component is the service portal that allows authorized users to view the sort of the service-centric service-centric architecture that you've just seen in the demo.
Great, good stuff, thank you. Actually, good news, we're getting some questions coming in on the chat window. So one of those questions, one from Scott in particular, is going to get answered any second now, which is, how easy is it to deploy? How long is a typical deployment to get up and running? Scott specifically asked, can you explain what is involved in setting up the topology?
Right, well, great, because that's what I was going to explain. So how easy is it to deploy? It's very easy to deploy. It's designed that way. The customer's view, the view that you just saw in the demo there, we know internally as a topology instance. Now, creating a topology instance is just a simple case of signing up on our portal. Once you've signed up, the portal will provide you with a link to a package, and that package contains a unique copy of the agent that's containerized with encryption keys that lock the data that's being collected to your specific topology instance. The full deployment instructions are provided during that process, but fundamentally all you do is a kubectl create and then provide the URL or type in the URL that we provide. Kubernetes will then launch the relevant pods containing the agent across your cluster, and that's it. So the whole process takes but a few minutes.
Excellent news, great. As you say, question from Robin here. So nice demo, thank you. How does Cobe get the data it needs to render in that diagram? So we started covering off that already, so maybe just elaborate a little more about how the agent is capturing the data to create that view.
Sure. So the agent runs on each of the nodes within the Kubernetes cluster. It then uses a combination of the Kubernetes APIs that are available to running on that cluster to interrogate Kubernetes as to pods and containers that are running on that. We then do a little bit of magic with the information that we're collecting there, looking at labels, looking at connections between different parts of the architecture, and then through that we're deriving the system's architecture according to the components that we're finding.
Okay. Actually, so Scott's chipped in again about the anomaly that was detected. What was the actual problem and the solution? Do you want to confirm a little bit of detail there?
We'll have a go. So it's a contrived example, to be fair. We've got a container that's restarting within a replica set. So the solution in this case would be, it would require further investigation. We've got a container restarting. We've established that it's not affecting your business service, but we haven't got to the final cause of that restart. We've established which container it was, which host it was on, and provided that jumping off point for further investigation.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Hopefully that was okay, Scott. We're happy to pick up offline to go into a bit more detail if need be. Question here from Suki. What is the level and depth of reporting that is available, and is it deliverable via dynamic dashboards for a large enterprise? Is it possible to use any off-the-shelf front-end for reporting, such as ClickView or MicroStrategy? So I suppose we spoke about APIs. Obviously the ability to take data out. We do have our own model, and we are able to visualize that using the UI that we've been looking at today. But if we were to choose to integrate with other systems, absolutely, there is possibility to interface to any of those such reporting platforms. Again, I think it's probably an offline question to take a bit further. But Suki, I will give you a call, and thank you for that question. One other question we very often get actually is around security. So I thought that was worth spending a couple of minutes on. So Alan, what info are we collecting, and how is it protected?
Okay, so essentially the agent collects runtime metrics at a sort of a pod and a container level. So for example, that's memory usage, disk statistics, process tree information, that kind of stuff. The data is then encrypted using the keys that I mentioned as part of the sign-up process. We're creating a set of keys which lock the data to that particular topology instance, i.e. customer in this sense. So the data is then encrypted using that key and protected as it's sent up to our portal. Now, just a little note here also, we've deliberately open sourced our agent, so you can download it, you can look at it, and you can check to see what information we're collecting and satisfy yourself that you're not leaking any information that you wouldn't want to.
Great. And what about for those clients? Some are using public cloud. Does it also work with private cloud?
Yeah. So the agent technology is completely agnostic to where it runs. It can run on a Kubernetes cluster, both on a public cloud provider or on-premise, depending on the use, even hybrid. So we can collect data pretty much wherever your cluster is running.
Excellent. Okay, good. All right, so there's some of the key questions that we've had when we've been talking to customers. But what about the future? What else could Cobe do? What does the roadmap look like?
Okay, so just to give you a brief sort of heads up on a few things that are coming up. We sort of envisage this version of Cobe to be just the start of quite a long journey. We aim to make the system into a sort of a single source of authoritative truth about your architecture, about what's running on your architecture. So we aim to allow a link into CMDB systems to allow Cobe to both create and maintain configuration databases.
Fantastic. So ServiceNow and BMC could have an up-to-date CMDB courtesy of Cobe?
That's right. It's normally a big overhead trying to manage a configuration database, even in a sort of a legacy environment. It's virtually impossible to do it in a containerized environment where sort of things pop in and out of existence, on a very rapid basis. So we believe that sort of understanding your architecture from a business-centric standpoint will allow us to bring in the cost of your cloud computing to the fore. So here we're talking about taking Cobe's understanding of how your business application looks and combining it with the costs that you're getting charged from your public provider to allow you to create reports for the finance people to keep tabs on costs.
Excellent. So we could give the CFO full visibility of how much they're spending on AWS, where it's being spent, how much each individual team is spending, etc.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Excellent.
And then finally, for this session, another of the features that we're going to be releasing quite soon is an on-premise version of the portal. Obviously, as I said, the agents run on your own infrastructure. The portal runs on ours. So we're going to be shortly releasing an on-premise version of that portal that you can run yourself, and so all the information is staying within your environment if that's something that particularly worries you.
Good stuff. All right. Well, lots of more exciting things to follow as well, I'm sure. That means we're just coming up to the 30 minutes. So that is it from us. I think all that leaves for me to say is firstly, thank you for attending. We hope you like the idea of adding service-centric intelligence to your Kubernetes cluster. Actually, did we talk about other providers, so other orchestration engines as well?
Right. No, I don't think we did mention it. So currently we're targeting very much towards Kubernetes, running both on-premise. The demo that you're seeing there is an on-premise installation, but we also support the Google Compute Engine. Additionally, we support Kubernetes running on AWS, and we're looking at the moment towards OpenShift and doing some validation work around OpenShift too.
Great. And other orchestrators and bare metal VMs, etc. in time.
Absolutely, it's all on the roadmap.
Excellent, good. Great, I suppose we just need to have customers giving us that guidance, and we will focus on those. But in the meantime, please, why not give Cobe a try? So as well as there being a demo environment available, so you can click around yourself and have a look at what Matt was showing you earlier. You can also set up your own private topology instance. Give it a try. We'd be happy to help with any questions regarding Cobe, or of course about helping you to transition to microservices. Scott, do you have a public roadmap? Very happy to pick that up with you. It's not public, but very happy to have a one-on-one discussion with you. So thanks for the question. And thanks again, everybody, for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.